Yep, here we go. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I'm your boy Narik Chase, and with me I have KP. We're here at it again, doing another great edition of Breaking the Baits. And then this one, episode 154, if I hadn't messed up the numbers, uh, we are going to be talking about the cancellation of some of Netflix's best, the MCU shows,
Why?
not
Why are they
not
doing it?
counting Agents of Shield.
Yeah, that's Netflix
Yeah,
in particular, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke
yeah,
Cage,
the Netflix exclusive
yep,
ones.
Iron Fist, Defenders, and The Punisher. They just announced Marvel, the Daredevil, season 3, and that's it, done. They're canceling. And then what's funny is, it's not because of ratings, because I did a couple research bits on Netflix, and let me find a real quick link here. Um, the 10 most watched digital shows in the United States. This is particularly Netflix targeted. Well, let me rephrase that. Netflix is majority of these shows, but like number four most watched shows in the U.S. is Daredevil, and Netflix's third most highest rated watch series. Why would you get rid of it? Why?
Oh, we all know why.
Because it's stupid.
That the whole Disney Plus thing.
You think the Disney is going to say, hey, because Disney now owns pretty much everything, that they're just going to go ahead and say, okay, if they were already production, you go ahead, you get them, but that's it. But do you think Disney's going to carry it on to their
Nope.
Disney streaming service stuff?
Nope. Otherwise, they wouldn't have canceled them. They would have just made out some kind of deal where they would just transform over to Disney Plus. It's not like we ain't seen that before.
Well, I mean, now we were just talking in our last hour about Expanse going from Sci-Fi to Amazon Prime
They
or
did.
Amazon.
They did it with Smallville, I believe. It was on one channel, and then it went to the CW, or it was on the
Yeah.
CW first, and it went to another channel.
Well, it was WB. They went to CW, which are basically owned by the same people anyway. But
Same thing with, I think Supergirl did the same thing.
yeah, Supergirl was on like a prime time, and then went to CW / whatever it is now, SCW or whatever. What the heck channel is it called now? I lost track. I'm really sad. I mean, we
It's
had
still
this really cool. I
CW.
mean, I've watched a few of the Daredevil. I mean, they're pretty decent. I haven't had any, major complaints. I mean, and I definitely watched the Punisher one. I watched all of those. I'm ready for the new season to come out. But it seems like, one of the other comments was they say they make it to usually season 3 and then they just die, which is funny because, well, Luke Cage, that's not true because Luke Cage only got to season 2 and they canned it. Iron Fist got to season 2, they canned it.
And
Defenders only had one season, but
and then the thing about it is, check this out. At first, everybody was like, "Okay, Iron Fist get canceled." You understand why? That was probably the first season. When the second season came out, look at the turnout and look at the comments and stuff now. Everybody liked the second season.
yeah, that first
Everybody
season
actually
kind of.
wanted to see a third season.
I was not thrilled at all with the Iron Fist season 1.
Oh, like I said, everybody wasn't. I'm not gonna say everybody. Most people weren't. But like I said, they more than made up for it in the second season. The character was better. The fights were a little bit better. They still seemed kind of choreographed. Not choreographed. They just didn't feel intense. Um, well, the most of the fights did. There were some that did feel a little bit more intense, and the story was a lot better. And like I told you, and I told you before, like the way it left off, too big of a cliffhanger. It was like, no, you cannot leave it off like that. Same thing with Luke Cage. They left it off on this thing where he could potentially be a bad guy. And you just can't leave off stuff like that. That is
And they
messed
said,
up. That's
we're
messed
done,
up.
sucker. Well, see, that's what happened to Timeless. Completely unrelated, but canceled a good show. And it was on ABC, I think. and everybody and their mom was like, "What?" That major cliffhanger, and you're like, "You can't do this. We've been watching this thing for freaking 2 years. Why?" But they're bringing back a 2-hour season finale on December 20th to
That's
wrap
why.
up the story.
That's what I feel like they should do. Like I feel like they should go ahead and make it a Defenders 2, then cancel them.
Yeah, do you remember a series that was out on Netflix called Sense8?
Yes,
And they did like season 1, season 2, and then they just done.
but
The
then
same thing happened with them. They had such a huge, like, what the heck, that everybody and their mom, they got a 2-hour season finale. I mean, well, 2-hour series finale for the
yeah,
same thing. So, looking kind of ahead in the future, we were talking about Disney. Was it Disney Plus is what they're going to call it? Yeah,
yeah.
Disney Plus. The first two shows out the bat for those are Vision and Scarlet Witch. I don't even know
No,
if it has the original actors in it or not from the regular movies.
ain't nobody
And
wants that.
actually, you know what? Oh, was expected. So they're going to have to replace both of them. And then they have another Untitled Loki series. Those are, again, the first two Disney Plus series out the bat. But then we have all these great shows that were on, Netflix. And then I think there's a couple floating, and there's somebody else. Marvel's Runaway on Hulu. Cloak and Dagger on Freeform. And they're going into a second season. So I mean,
Why
there's a
they
few
don't
there's
get
a few
canceled?
spread out Marvel. Yeah, they're probably gonna get canned. Of course, we're still watching Agents of Shield, going on to whatever. Jeez, I don't know how many seasons they got now.
It should be 5.
5 or 6. As at least we're on 5. So but what kills me is we have these great successful series on the company that is bringing good entertainment to you. I mean, they're bringing a lot of original content. They're bringing a lot of innovative stuff. And the Marvel universe is blowing up like crazy right now. We got a lot of stuff coming into the future, and they just we're gonna at least get a third season of Jessica Jones. We're gonna get at least a second season of the Punisher. And did they already release the? Yeah, they did. They already released the Daredevil season 3. So
Good
um
season.
um they're out there,
Daredevil
but
3 season 3 was great.
I'm just really bummed that when you get something good like that, they tend to do. I mean, Fox was really known for doing that a lot, especially on their shows. I mean, they had some cool sci-fi shows on there. They just freaking canned, and people were just getting into them. I mean, Firefly. Look at that show. What a cult following that thing has. They had enough
I
to
still
make
like
a
the
movie.
I still like the Marco Polo. I didn't like the fact they canceled that. They should have ended that off with a freaking movie.
What was the other one? They had another really cool one on there too. Um,
Nah, well, Marco Polo was on Netflix. I was just saying.
I was gonna say, there's so many good shows and so much good content out there, especially the super. I mean, they got a lot. I mean, Daredevil was a movie. Jessica Jones was never a movie. Luke Cage was never a movie. Iron Fist was never a movie. The Defenders was a nice, crunch. We've had Punisher movies. We've had 1, 2, 3 off the top of my head that I could think of. But this was more of an in-depth series into the character, more than just a 2-hour slaughter fest. But I don't understand. I mean, now it kind of makes sense that we were, briefly talking about the Disney Plus, but it just it still irks me.
Yeah,
It still irks me.
I don't like it. They set up a lot. They set up a whole lot, and like I said, if they were to say we're canceling the show, but we'll have like a 2-hour season finale thing, fine. That way you can at least wrap up stuff, wrap it up. But to leave everything off the way you did and just
Yeah,
that's it. That's
yeah.
messed up.
Don't a lot of your fans and people, us, love these shows. We have a great following. Okay, yeah, we may not think it's always the greatest thing since sliced bread, but still, it's great that they're bringing these to life. Bringing these comics that, in some cases are obscure. Jessica Jones, huh? Luke Cage, yeah, I remember Luke Cage and Iron Fist together. in a series, comic series specifically, all the time. I remember reading them as a kid. The Defenders, I remember as a kid, and it's cool to see all of them, get together and go into there. But I really think it's stupid that they go ahead and pull. I mean, Disney's Plus is not even actively online. It's all developmental, and it's still very just where we have already a great established following through Netflix and some of the other channels, like Freeform and Hulu that have some of the Carry On series. But
But
I
what's
don't.
getting me is, and I understand that they're trying to, and I don't like it, but I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it just strictly exclusive. Like the only
Exactly.
thing that you
We
can,
want to own
the only
everything.
way you can watch any of our stuff is by joining this. I mean, I get it. Still, it's a dick move.
It is. It really sucks, especially when you've had such good success. At least with
And
two
you
of the
know
three
what?
series.
Like I said, it is a dick move, but they still should at least, okay, keep the shows going. Just don't make no new shows. The new shows all go on that.
Yeah, carry
But
on with
why
what you
cancel?
got. Let them do their thing, and then make all new ones. I mean, again, first two shows at the bat. You know,
And,
Vision
and
and
then you
Scarlet
tell,
Witch and Loki. Okay, keep them going, and then as we, maybe season 4 or wrap up the series is on Netflix, they won't carry on into the Disney Plus. Most likely, they're
uh-huh.
not. I doubt it.
And then you think about it, and you could tell this was a whole power move or whatever. Because you think, what happened? Two shows got canceled within a week.
Yeah, that was pretty
Where
sucked
have you seen
on
that before?
Fox.
And that's like, Jesus. Two shows get canceled in the same in a week. And the thing about it is these shows are related, and
Yeah,
it
they're
wasn't.
all intertwined. I mean, that's what the Defenders was all about.
And I don't like the fact that they said they weren't going to make a Defenders two after they said that they was going to make a Defenders the first time. But I'm like, okay, it's common sense. People want to see these characters come together again. So why weren't you prepping for a Defenders season? In fact, all of this cancellation and stuff would have been cool had they canceled it on the second season of the Defenders. At least you could have seen the characters get back together again. Then after they cancel, you can just, because like I said, they left off. Even all Daredevil left off on it. Iron Fist left off on it, and Luke Cage left off on like these really big cliffhangers. So it's like, really, just I don't know. Disney, let Netflix just do one more thing. Just cancel the shows if you're gonna do it. Let them
Just
play
let me
off
have
one more
one
season.
more.
Yeah, just spit us out one more Defenders. That's all we're asking. After that, we're okay. Wrap up all the little storylines that you put in now. But come on, give us one more season. They introduced what's her name? Typhoon Mary or something like that. And
Fort Mary
dude,
sounds very familiar.
she's hands down one of my favorite characters in all of the shows. She was freaking awesome. Then in Daredevil season 3, they introduced Bullseye. He's one of my favorite characters. Now
Time
they
where
did a
people
fantastic
win.
with him.
Well, there's another series out there floating around I just ran across.
What's the
It
name
doesn't
of it?
say where it's going. Called The New Warriors.
I wouldn't say I've heard of it, but
It's kind of like you heard the Squirrel Girl. Kind of
yeah.
like one of the. That's gonna be played by the girl off the commercials. I can't think of her name at the moment. And then they have Mr. Immortal, Night Thrasher, Speedball, Micro Debris.
Oh, the Young Cats.
Yeah, they're all like kind of the off, really off. Where is this coming to?
Honestly, all of them
Freeform?
show. Honestly though, like all of the shows were like the Immortals, Gifted, and like I don't honestly I ain't been giving a damn about them. Cloak and Dagger didn't care too much about it.
I used to read the comics, but They're making that a teen drama type thing. That's all that's about.
I don't know. It just feels like when I'm watching, I watched a bit of The Gifted. I watched a little bit of The Runaways. The Runaways felt too much like a drama, a little bit interesting, but it was like the teen drama. And The Gifted felt more like I was watching Heroes.
Yeah. So I
That's what
liked
it felt
Heroes
like.
for season 1 and part of season 2, and then after that it got stupid.
Yeah, and another thing about The Gifted, like, is like most of their powers are stupid. I'm like, really?
Kind of like their, a series I wish they would bring back was Agent Carter, though.
I hadn't seen that. I was interested in watching it, but I hadn't seen
That
it.
was a very good series. I really liked it. Agents of Shield, Agent Carter, Inhumans. I got like episode 1 and 2, and that was it. I just didn't care anymore. It just lost my interest altogether. But that Agent Carter, I really, really like because it was back. It's a period time, so it's back in the 40s and 50s.
No, you
And
said you didn't like Agents of Shield.
I was watching Agents of Shield up to season 3.
Ain't that the one with Ghost Rider?
I think it's where Ghost Rider made his appearance. I think. Because they were, let me see here. Phil Coulson, Kree. Yeah, and they were getting all to the Kree stuff, and they were kind of getting all into the, finding out what happened to Coulson, and what's her face gets the powers vibe. She has the ability to shake and stuff, and we're finding out
that
all
was
about
all
the
the season two.
Hydra after the Hydra fallout.
Yeah,
I can't
I
think
didn't
of
see the third season.
Hive. That was what it was. The Hive character was coming into play. They could control any of the mutants, and that was season 3 was cool. And then they just kind of Quake. That's what it was. Quake. She got called Quake, and then they kind of went off a little bit off the belt, and that's when Ghost Rider made the appearance in the next season. And I kind of liked it, but it started just kind of getting too far out there. And then I kind of started losing interest. I mean, I liked a lot of the characters, but then they just kind of started trying to jam everybody and their mom in there. And it kind of lost its way. I think they were in space now or some crazy crap like that. So I don't know. I may go back and watch it on like Netflix or Hulu or
Yeah, I
whoever's
need to
got
get
it
back
right
on
now.
game because I haven't been watching it after
I watched
second
the first,
season.
at least the first 3 seasons. I definitely I was watching it.
It's one
I
of the
was
things
really surprised it made it this far though, because the ratings on it have kind of dropped a lot.
Oh, okay.
They started at 8 million and they're down to like 3.5 million. So it's kind of sucking.
But
I don't know.
a lot of the reason is a lot of people wanted when Agents of Shield came out or whatever. A lot of people wanted it to feel more like it's a part of the movies. To see, okay, maybe every blue moon Captain America shows up. Maybe every blue moon Thor shows up. I mean, I understand like story
well,
wise
they
why
have had like
sometimes
Sif
they would,
show up.
or even like with the whole Agents of Shield thing. I mean, with the whole Daredevil, one of them show up or something like that. That's a lot of reason why people were hyped up about Agents of Shield, because it's like, yes, this stuff is happening in the background, but you should still have one episode Tony Stark shows up.
Yeah, I mean that would have helped infuse a lot of goodness into that series. They were kind of going to the background. I mean, now we did have Samuel Jackson show up in there. We did have Sif from Thor show up in there.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about.
I think
you
that
might
was
get
about
one
it.
other. Mariah Hill might show up.
Oh, she did. She did.
That's
She showed
pretty
up
much
in
it.
episodes.
That's like pretty much it. That's like the biggest problem with it though. Is like you wanted it to feel like a whole, like it's all in the same universe. But the problem is sometimes with because like, okay, the Netflix shows, they felt very different. Then you had a movie where they came together, and then some of the seasons, one person from another series would, like Iron Fist, Misty Knight came and she was in Iron Fist season 2. So you're like, okay, you get to see that character show up now, and it actually feels like it's tied to Luke Cage, kind of like when Jessica Jones first came out. Then Luke Cage was in it.
Yeah, he was in the first few
Yep.
episodes.
And then he branched off and started doing his thing, and that's like that's how they're supposed to do it. It's like I understand they're big budgeted A-listers, and I'm quite sure uh, I don't know what the dealing is behind the scenes or whatever, but you would expect at least they'd be like, okay, for the fans, we'll show up for this episode and help out here and there, and then off to do our own little thing again. You know what I'm saying?
But they
Because even in Spider-Man the animated series, you had cameos of other heroes.
mm-hmm. I wish they
So
would,
that's
that would save them if as they're on their path right now. They're, in that particular show will probably not be on another season. At the rate that they're going.
I could possibly give them like another season, but probably not after that.
I think they're
And
starting.
I don't think, and from what I don't think they're actually been dealing with any of the major bad guys or anything like that. You don't see really any of the other heroes. Like if you think about it, Agents of Shield could have been or should have been how the Fantastic Four got introduced to the MCU and how the X-Men got introduced to the MCU. That's how I feel about it.
They should have. I think of they just didn't tie everything. And with Agents of Shield, they've been kind of staying with a connection of the movies, our MCU and the universe movies, because when they had, Civil War, they were affected by it. When Shield fell to Hydra, they were affected by it. Having to rebuild in the background, do their sneaky stuff around. And I think they portray more closer to what's been on screen than standing off in their own, comic universe, where they have
Which
a lot.
I'm not gonna lie, I do like that.
So they are keeping things together, at least in that respect. But I think it's also hurting them because now we're going to have we have the whole Avengers 4 situation going on here, and Infinity War that will directly affect the whole series. Did they get affected by the Thanos snap? Of course they did, but that's in the air. How can they go from that, recover from that, or how they will tie in Avengers 4 into Shield? And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it or not. It's just too much. There's too much there that they could lose out on.
Because that was one of the things I noticed that was in the shows. Like none of that seemed to happen in the at the MCU shows on Netflix.
Well, see, they're all tied pre that. Those shows are hitting long before what we're seeing on the theater. This stuff's been happening in the backgrounds, but Shield has been tied to them directly. I mean, again, that's the only one of the MCU shows that's actually been as close to real time as their counterpart in the theater. Because again, Civil War and all those effects affected them directly. So that's why we don't see that crossing issue over in any of the Netflix series, because it hasn't happened yet. Most of those are old in the background days.
Which I don't like that. I don't like that because if you're trying to follow the timeline stuff, then it's like confusing because you're like,
I don't think they were designed to do the timeline. I literally, they were standalone shows that gives you like Nathan Fisk, Kingpin, gives you the great comic book villains and stuff, and it's happening, but it's not happening in the MCU theater timeline. It's just a period of time. Boom, we're throwing it out there. Here it goes. fighting in Hell's Kitchen, doing what Daredevil does, doing what Jessica Jones does. They're not tying into that, which is good because it gives you a lot more play. Because if you have to keep writing to keep up with the MCU storyline in the theater, you're never going to have satisfied people. Everybody's going to be.
But if you think about it, but this was the argument I make. But if you think about it, if you go back and look at the actual timeline, all of this stuff happens. They're not happening like every other month. Like a lot of the stuff happens like months at a time. Like think about it. The first Avengers and Avengers 2 happened like 2 years apart. And then what was it? Spider-Man Homecoming happened months after Civil War.
Yeah.
So it's like
there's gaps. It's not back to back to back to back, but I mean you have a relative piece of time, a linear piece of time that you're following, whereas the Netflix series are just stories. There's not a it's not a particular time or frame. It may be in 1985, it may be in 1991. They're not following that.
I give you a better description, a better example. While during the shows, while all of this stuff is happening in the shows, what they could have did to actually help kind of tell people to connect it in the main story without actually putting so much effort into it is whatever happened in the movie or in the movies or something, have some character mention it in the story. Just mention it. That way you at least know what a time period is going on. Like Luke Cage, how somebody bring up something that happened in bring up like the Hulk. Oh no, okay. Like when Luke Cage had to go fight Bushmaster, had somebody say, "Hey, this fight's going to be as badass as Iron Man when he fought the Hulk." That way, okay, we know it takes place after.
Never clue you to a time period, but
yeah.
Do you want to do that with the regular Netflix series? Do you want to tie them like that?
You can do it without being specific, just to give somebody an idea. Because if you say, "Hey, this happened after Age of Ultron," okay, at least we know it happened after Age of Ultron. You don't got to be specific about it, but give us some type of something
to where the time frame is at.
Yeah,
because it could have been before Tony Stark ever did anything too. Iron who? I don't know who that is. Iron Underwear, never heard of him.
but
I think just keeping them as standalone stories makes it much better, because that just gives you like the classic comic feel. I mean, I think that's what I get when I watch the shows. I'm not looking how the real, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know is tied directly into the timeline.
Yeah,
and they've made every effort to make sure that you know that and see it. But Wivel and all the Netflix series and even the side ones, they're not really even mentioning referencing a story. So you're not looking for, oh, is that before this or after that? They're just kind of, to me, like, like independent comics that just don't follow the main, like a time storyline. I think that's where those really gather their goodness, is because of the fact that they're not tied to them.
But maybe just
but then you'd be losing.
I'd say maybe just the way I see it. I would like to have just some mention, like just something, like whatever happened in Spider-Man Homecoming with the boat. Had somebody mention it or somebody mention Spider-Man or something. Just have some mention
even at the same time. Huh? Because you got to think, even if they happen at the same time, they may have been in the same universe, but not even remotely close frames. That could have hindrance to the storyline too. Because Daredevil's pretty old.
Like I said, maybe just me. I like that it is said in there, but I kind of want to have something just remind us, like, yeah, we're still in the MCU. That's it. Just a little Easter egg. Just a little
Well, yeah,
Easter egg.
if the
That's it.
story's close enough, yeah, I can understand coming from.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do. I don't know how their story thought of. I mean, if they're kind of trying to timeline it, yeah, there would need to be some cues. But I think they were just focusing on the fact that, at least in this case, Daredevil was Daredevil, and his area was Hell's Kitchen, and kind of how he came around and what he does. And they weren't so much when it was, how it was. I have no objections with that. It's just like, granted, watching you'd have like X Files, where 13 episodes, like 6 of them were in a story arc, and 6 were ordinary. They had nothing to do with the conspiracies, nothing. It was just a weird episode, and boom, not related to anything. And I think a lot of those episodes in the Daredevil and the Netflix series have been like that. I mean, they're following their storyline point arc, but just not trying to tap into the MCU timeline that we see in the movies.
Do you think that when they established the whole Netflix, Marvel, and everything, do you think they had any intention, even with all the Marvel shows that they have now, do you think they have any intention of bringing any of these show characters to the big screen?
No, we've already had Punisher.
I still don't. I don't like that. I'm like, if you are making a cinematic universe,
to shine here.
But this is the thing: if you're making these characters in this cinematic universe, the best way for you to make them feel like they're in the same universe is to cross over. And like you said, the only two series that they've done that actually have any, like, they feel actually a part of it is Agent Carter through the Captain America films.
Yep.
And Agents of Shield. Yep. That's it. And it's like, if this is a cinematic universe,
Coulson came first,
yeah,
and Rhea Hill series. Jackson came from the regular series. Even if they're cameo art, and that's what tied them here.
Yeah,
but would you? If you were sitting at your house, big action movie coming out, Marvel movie, with Jessica Jones, would you go see?
You mean? Did you say
a big budget movie, Jones?
A big budget movie with her?
Just, I'm going to have a new Marvel cinematic movie. It's called Jessica Jones.
I would go on. If I'm a fan of the series, I'd go see it.
The few percent people who even knew Jessica Jones would probably go see it, and they would make their money. But if we throw in Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, your core figures, now you have more star power.
But that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, if they have the next movie, let's say Avengers 4, why not any of these other characters in these other movies show up in it? Why not? You've managed to put all these other obscure characters into it. Why not have someone that you've already put?
But they,
you know what I'm saying?
On Netflix.
Huh?
Less budget, less money.
But that's just like, maybe it's just me, because I still don't understand, why would you make a cinematic universe and have no ties? Okay, so what's the point of it being this might as well be the DCEU and the Arrowverse. That's what it might as well be.
And that's kind of what they're doing in a way. But I mean, I kind of understand where they're going. They were trying some experiment and see what would happen, and big money on a no-namer or a very little considered character. So now though, let's say, because Jessica Jones has been so successful, Daredevil has been so successful, now them into the MCU mainstream. Now they're known on Netflix. More people know them. Acceptable, and they'll roll them in.
Okay,
then that would work.
Let me ask you this then: what if they decided to make to cap it all off and to put them actually into the MCU, and that'll be all. What if they made a Defenders movie? Would you go watch it?
No.
I had to go see it, man.
Oh, there is it the let me rephrase this. Let me think.
I'm sorry, it seems like a microphone going out a little bit.
Yeah, it could be a good example of this. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Obscure comic, never heard of it. And what is it? Their number 3 gross rated movie.
Yeah.
But Jessica Jones, Iron Man, or excuse me, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and all them. Daredevil's probably more known than Luke Cage and Iron Fist and all that, and Jessica Jones.
I'd say it'd be Daredevil, then it'd be Luke Cage, then it's Iron Fist, then it's Jessica Jones.
Now, see, the Defenders could be that next Guardians of the Galaxy on a big screen budget with a different crew of people, more star power. You won't have the same people that you had in the regular series. Now, would that be successful? I'm sure people would go to see it. But again, the catch would be the people who've seen the series on Netflix would be looking for the Netflix people to be on the big screen, because that's who they've adapted to in their minds to take those characters.
But this would be the difference. If they did put the movie out, then it would have to be those same people.
Maybe. But we've seen this happen already, though.
But each series has their following, even though some people follow multiple series. You got to take that into account too. So if you have, say, you got 1 million people watching, I'm not, it's a bad number. Say you got 3 million people watching Iron Fist. Then you got 5 million on Luke Cage, another 5 on Jessica Jones, and probably about 15 on Daredevil. But if you put a movie together, all of that's going to combine. Yes, some of them are going to gloss over because more people most likely going to watch Daredevil than any of the other shows. But the people that watch those shows hadn't seen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it could be successful. No, it's not going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy, let's just be real, it was actually pretty unique. Yes, the concept wasn't new, but like the presentation, the characters,
so obscure of a group of people. Yes. I mean, literally, I read comics a lot. I vaguely remembered Guardians of the Galaxy. So I mean, that was, and I'm 45. And I vaguely remembered it. So they were either targeting a completely different audience because they weren't targeting me or my group of people. So, they took a big gamble on that movie.
Yep. It paid off too.
It would be the same thing with the Defenders or even the Immortals or even I'm trying to think of another group that's kind of obscure.
I'm still with him on this. Only because the series will be successful. If the series sucked, I would be with you. I'll be behind you on that. But because they've already got a following, and like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy, most people didn't know who they were.
Nobody knew who the heck they were to save their life.
But these Netflix shows now, like the people know the characters. Now, if like you said, they did make a movie. And I'm not saying like $100 million budget. No, doesn't need to be like that. I think you could make a good Defenders movie with like 20 million, and I think it'd be solid because I think the fan base would at least support the movie. But people that don't watch the television show and actually just watch the movies, guess what? You got that those people that like the movies, they'll be in that too. I think they could actually, like I said, it wouldn't be no Guardians of the Galaxy. There wouldn't be no Avengers, but I think it would be successful because they do have a following. That's it. That's only because they're successful now. But you do have a point.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they took a huge risk in doing that, but actually, I agree that there is a Netflix following, and if they carried the people and they had enough backing, they could do it. Again, it's not going to be out the box Guardians of the Galaxy. That's for sure. Will it be successful? They'll probably make their money.
It depends.
May it go
I would
beyond
say
that? It really
I'd say it depends on how much they spent, which I
yeah,
hope they don't
it
spend like
depends.
100 million on.
I mean, you gotta look at. I don't even know. I have to go look it up and find out what the budget they've been running on just the regular TV series is. Because sometimes those TV series are way more than some of them movies that are out there, even the low end movies. You know, they may be doing $1 million to $2 million an episode, mostly just for CGI. You know, because that's where a lot of the expense is coming in. You know, they're not in the high end CGI like Transformers, but they're still doing enough that, you know, it's costing some coin to get
Yeah.
them in there. So, I don't know. I would really like to see them bring a lot more of the obscure comics, but at this point, really, the obscure ones have been very successful on streaming media platforms, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever they're going to go to. And unfortunately, now Disney owns like 9,000% of everything. So unless Disney filters it or approves it, you're probably going to see a slowdown on the obscure characters coming out. I think they're going
Well,
to
let me ask
target. They're probably going to target what mainstream, like, you know, again, first two shows out the batch, Loki, undisclosed type story, and Scarlet Witch and Vision. You know, not a real showstopper there for me.
let me ask you this then. We on the questions. All right. Would you want them to make bring in more obscure characters, have them be in their own independent stuff, or bring them in through another already established show or movie?
I think everybody so far, what we've seen in DCU and MCU, we have definitely seen the independents and then the teams, or the teams shoot off an independent. You know, we've had it both ways. Because, yeah, Ant-Man was an independent and joined up, but did its own spinoff later on. With DCU, we saw Superman, Batman, Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman Independent, and then JLA. And then that spawned off Aquaman Independent, soon to be Flash, Cyborg / They did theirs a little bit differently. They gave you a couple up front group, then a couple after, where pretty much we saw everybody independent in MCU, and then Avengers. So, it depends on what they, you know, a lot of people want, because there's a lot of those groups are not grouped. There are a lot of independent stories, a lot of independent characters. And I think they just kind of, it seems to be they're sticking with teams, you know, or known comparison, because we've got, you know, well, look, in prime example, we had Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. Now, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, to me, were always together as a comic. Always. Jessica Jones, I really never heard of, maybe vaguely.
The
And
only thing I
Daredevil,
knew
of
about
course,
Jessica
I
Jones,
watched a lot of Daredevil.
the only thing I knew about Jessica Jones was she married Luke Cage.
And I didn't even know that. So, it's, you know, to me, that she was definitely, I've enjoyed the series, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
you know, because she's just a hero that doesn't want to be a hero, but she can. But, you know, she's probably the more human of all the characters anyway that has been in there, you know, because she doesn't completely understand her limitations, but yet she can embrace them when she needs to. But she's still mostly human. I mean, she drinks all the time just to get away from all the other stuff. But, you know, I would like to see a lot of some of the villains, or like a series of villains or something, you know, where we get our discovery points of some of these bad guys, even though they might tie into a good guy storyline. Bring in some of the bad guys. Let's see what they do. What's, you know, like the Legion of Doom. Let's bring the Legion of Doom out and have stories with them. In fact, actually, I think somebody was talking about that might actually happen. in either an animated series or a live action series. I gotta go back and find that because it was kind of obscure. It caught me because I used to watching the, the Justice League cartoon, and they always had the Legion of Doom and that big darter helmet looking thing coming out of the swamp.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, the Legion of Doom, what's going to happen now? Somebody's going to get their butt kicked. Yeah. And, of course, they always get their butt handed to them. But it was cool. I also like Black Manta, too. And now he's coming in Aquaman, which would be freaking sweet. If he has the cool voice, that'd make it even better. Like he did in the series. But I would like to, let's do that. Let's get, instead of Justice League, let's have Legion of Doom. And get some of our cool, obscure villains and some of our known villains, and let's bring them out there and let them have their day. And, that's what they should make, is a Legion of Doom series. I'm all for that.
I'm all for it, too.
But, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. MCU's a driving force right now. Although I think Aquaman's going to really kick the DCU back into gear again. Because we're going to have Aquaman, we're going to have Wonder Woman 2 or Wonder Woman 1984. Of course, Henry Cavill stepped down from Superman. That kind of blows. So that's going to be a rough step.
But I don't know about
Shazam's going to be interesting. I think this is going to be a fun movie. If they had Shazam serious like he is in the comics, it'd be a different story. But I think Shazam is going to be a decent movie because I like Zachary Levi as an actor. He's fun. He's cool.
But my thing is, everybody's expecting to see Shazam fight Black Adam.
Or Black Adam, yeah.
But they said Black Adam's not in the movie.
No, not in this one.
So you're trying to figure out, like, okay, so what's the story about then? We can understand he's turning to Shazam, but it's like, okay, what the hell's the story?
Oh, no, there's a bad guy in it. I'm trying to think of the name. I remember him from the old TV show that used to be on. He's trying to get the powers back. He was somebody who was gifted the powers of Shazam and then had them taken away. And he was ill about it. He wasn't truly worthy. He tried to use them for bad purposes, and they got taken away. And he's after those powers again. That's kind of the storyline. And he's kind of a Billy Badass too. He's not just some weak ass wimp guy. He's got some ooh la la factor to him. So, but I'm anxious to see Shazam. I always liked the premise behind Shazam, because actually, technically, in the DCU, he's like one of the most powerful characters.
Yeah.
I think he's like second to Superman in physical abilities. In fact, actually, he probably steps above Superman because he's magically enhanced as well.
Yeah, so. He's one of the few people that can beat Superman.
Yep. So that would be interesting. And if they had another Superman series, I would like a tie-in that they did in Justice League where they had Darkseid forthcoming, and get that storyline going. That would make the JLA at least, somewhat worthwhile to watch again. So lots of options, lots of cool stuff, lots of great ideas. If anybody's listening, I hope they are, because we can get some really cool stuff. Legion of Doom, people. Legion of Doom. Just remember, you heard it here first.
We came to that time, man. All right, then, fellows. I'm going to go ahead and let Ken lead us off. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of us on the channel. All right, Ken, go ahead and tell the folks what they need to hear.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Just as you said, check out naricchase.com on your content. Shows on Sundays, shows on Thursdays. And with that, peace, love, and chicken grease, people. We're out of here.
Peace out.